Why do most older people seem to fade after 80? Even those who were sharp and doing well just a few years before often begin to decline. The truth is, most people assume that what happens after 80 is purely about genetics or luck, but that's far from the whole story. In this video, we're going to look at 5 unexpected reasons often overlooked and rarely talked about that explain why many older adults struggle to live long or stay healthy past 80. These aren't the usual suspects like diet, smoking, or exercise. These are deeper, more subtle factors that often slip through the cracks, even in people who've done most things right. And here's the good news. Once you know what they are, you can do something about them. So if you've ever wondered what really gets in the way of longevity after 80 and how to guard against it while you still have time, stay with me until the end of this video, because these 5 unexpected reasons might just help you change the way you age before it's too late. Now, let's get started. Number 1, loss of microsocial engagement. One of the first and most overlooked reasons many older people don't live long after 80 is the quiet disappearance of what experts call microsocial engagement. These aren't your deep friendships or family gatherings. Those still matter, of course, but rather the small, seemingly insignificant interactions that used to fill your everyday life without you even noticing. Think about how often you used to say hello to the mailman, share a quick joke with the cashier at the grocery store, or nod to the neighbor walking their dog across the street. Those tiny moments of contact weren't just pleasant. They were regulating your nervous system, reinforcing your sense of belonging, and keeping your brain's social wiring sharp and engaged. But after 80, many older adults stop going to the store themselves. They order things online or ask family to help. They stop chatting with strangers because their hearing isn't what it used to be, or they stop walking outside simply because the weather's a little too cold or their knees don't feel steady. And when those small social touch points start fading away, so does something else, vitality. What's interesting is that most people don't even realize it's happening. They think they're just simplifying life, but what they're actually doing is removing the low-level social interactions that stimulate brain function, elevate mood, and signal to the body that they are still part of the living, breathing, everyday world. It doesn't have to be complicated. I've known men in their 80s who stayed sharp simply because they walked to the same coffee shop each morning, said hello to the same staff, and nodded to the same 3 people on the corner. That 5-minute stretch of human connection wasn't just routine, it was lifeblood. It gave their day shape. It kept them accountable. It made them feel seen. And there's a biological cost when this disappears. The brain responds to loneliness, both the deep kind and the subtle kind, as a stressor. It changes hormone levels, raises inflammation, and weakens immunity. But most importantly, it begins to shrink the networks in the brain responsible for memory, attention, and emotional regulation. In plain terms, it makes you feel older, faster. So if you found yourself not talking as much to people during the day, or if you've simply stopped going out for small errands, stopped initiating casual conversations, or started feeling invisible in your community, it's time to reverse that, because those moments of connection, even the ones that seem forgettable, are quietly telling your brain and your body, you still matter. You're still part of something. And that message is one of the most powerful medicines for staying alive, not just in years, but in spirit. Number 2, overcautious inactivity. Another silent reason many people don't make it far past 80 is something that, on the surface, seems like wisdom, being careful. But there's a fine line between being careful and becoming overly cautious. And once that line is crossed, the consequences are rarely immediate but always cumulative. It often begins with good intentions. Maybe you slipped on the stairs once or nearly lost your balance on the sidewalk, so you decide to cut back on walking outside. You stop bending to reach low shelves or climbing into the back seat of the car. You sit down more and you stay sitting longer. People around you applaud your caution. Don't push it, they say. Take it easy. And before you realize it, you've created a life that's safe but still. But here's what no one talks about. When movement stops, so does strength. And not just in your legs or arms, but in your coordination, your balance, your inner stability. Your body isn't like a machine that rests to stay efficient. It's more like a garden that needs tending. And when activity slows to a trickle, things don't just stay the same, they weaken. One of the first places it shows is the core. Most people don't realize how important those deep trunk muscles are for everything standing, walking, lifting, even getting out of a chair. If those muscles go unused, even for a few weeks, they shrink. And when they shrink, your balance suffers. You start to wobble and the cycle deepens. I knew a man named Walter, 82, who stopped going on his evening walks after he slipped once on a rainy day. No broken bones, just a scare. But that scare was enough. He went from walking a mile every evening to sitting and watching television most nights. Within 6 months, he lost 10 pounds of muscle. His legs felt like jelly. His doctor warned him, but the damage had already started. Walter didn't stop because he was weak. He became weak because he stopped. Now, I'm not suggesting you ignore real risk. There are smart ways to protect yourself using handrails, wearing stable shoes, clearing walkways, even using a cane if it helps. But there's a difference between managing risk and surrendering to it. When fear dictates your movements, the body starts to forget how to move at all. So if you've noticed you're doing less, not because you physically can't, but because you're afraid of what might happen, pay attention to that. Ask yourself, am I protecting myself or am I slowly disappearing? Because staying alive after 80 isn't just about not falling. It's about continuing to move, even if you have to do it more carefully, more slowly, more deliberately. Movement is how the body remembers that it's still needed. It's how your systems stay online, how your brain stays alert, and how your heart keeps pumping with purpose. Number 3, disrupted sleep cycles from irregular light exposure. There's a silent clock inside your body that doesn't tick, but it governs almost everything. Your mood, your metabolism, your immune system, even how your brain repairs itself at night. And after age 80, this internal clock, your circadian rhythm, becomes especially sensitive. One of the biggest reasons it goes off track: not enough light during the day and too much light at night. You might not notice it at first. Maybe you've started sleeping a little more during the day, nodding off in the afternoon sun. Or maybe you've stopped going outside regularly, especially in colder months. You might turn on the TV in the evening or leave lights on until late while reading. Each change seems harmless, but together, they quietly confuse your body about when to be alert and when to rest. Your body relies on natural light to stay in rhythm. Bright morning light tells your brain, wake up, get moving, send energy where it's needed. Darkness at night signals melatonin release, that gentle hormone preparing you for deep healing sleep. But when your eyes don't get enough daylight, or evenings are filled with artificial brightness from screens, your internal signals scramble. The result? You might struggle to fall asleep, wake up groggy after 8 hours, or feel your energy lag all day. Over time, this sleep disruption weakens immunity, destabilizes mood, and even increases cognitive decline risk. There's also vitamin D, which your skin produces from sunlight. After 80, your ability to make vitamin D drops, making outdoor exposure critical for bones, muscles, and immunity. I once met Helen, 84, who felt increasingly tired and disoriented. Her blood work was fine, her diet unchanged. The turning point? Her doctor simply had her sit by a sunny window for 20 minutes each morning and turn off screens an hour before bed. Within 2 weeks, her sleep, memory, and mood improved. The remedy wasn't a pill, it was light. So if your days are spent indoors with curtains drawn or your nights bathed in blue light, it's time to shift. Get morning sunlight, even just porch sitting, dim lights at night. These rhythms aren't just comfort, they're survival. Because aging isn't just wear and tear, it's systems falling out of sync. Restoring light cues tells your body, even at 85, we're still on schedule. Number 4, emotional suppression from loss and isolation. By their 80s, most people have carried losses younger generations can't fathom: a spouse, siblings, lifelong friends, sometimes even a child. And while the world offers polite sympathy, what's rarely acknowledged is how these losses accumulate in the body, not just memory. What often happens after 80 isn't just grief, it's emotional suppression. The quiet habit of swallowing pain instead of expressing it, putting on a brave face because you feel you should be used to it, or because no one left truly understands. But here's the truth, the body doesn't forget. When grief isn't processed, when it's not spoken, shared, or felt fully, it doesn't vanish. It stores itself. Over time, this emotional weight becomes physical, weakening immunity, disrupting digestion, altering hormones, and keeping your nervous system in constant low-grade tension. The cruelest part? It's invisible. You might look calm. You might say you're fine. But if your shoulders feel heavier, your breathing shallower, or your spark dim just enough that you no longer recognize yourself, unprocessed grief might be why. Take George, 86, who lost his wife of 60 years. He didn't cry much, wasn't his way. Within a year, he'd lost weight, stopped socializing, and developed sleep troubles, not from illness, but from sorrow his body couldn't release. Emotional pain doesn't need drama to cause damage. What keeps people thriving past 80 is ventilation-safe outlets for sadness, fear, or loneliness. Whether through friends, journals, faith, or therapy, the principle is the same. What gets expressed can be transformed. What gets buried festers. So if you've been holding something in not because you want to, but because you didn't know where to put it, make space. Not just for your emotions, but for your life. Because the heart can only carry so much before it starts quietly shutting down. And if you want to live past 80 fully, you have to let it feel. Number 5, gradual loss of daily purpose. One of the most invisible reasons people fade after 80? The slow erosion of daily purpose, not some grand life mission, but the simple kind that makes you rise with somewhere to be, someone to see, something to do. Purpose can be tiny, watering plants, feeding a neighborhood cat, writing a granddaughter, fixing a gate hinge. But when these routines slip, when mornings bring no reason to move, and evenings nothing to reflect on, something inside begins to quiet. The body listens to the mind. And when the mind sees no reason to push forward, the body follows. Appetite drops. Movement slows. Systems idle, waiting for a reason to switch back on. It's easy to miss. Maybe your bridge game ended. Maybe family visits less. You tell yourself it's just aging, but you feel it, days blending, each quieter than the last. Ruth, 88, defied this. Her secret? Micro-purpose, Monday postcards to shut-ins, Thursday soup for shelters, daily waves to school kids. It wasn't glamorous, but it gave her days texture, her heart rhythm, her life continuity. Here's the secret no one shares. The body stays alive as long as it believes it's needed. Purpose, even small, is fuel. It tells cells to repair, organs to function, brains to learn. Lose that sense of relevance, feel like your presence doesn't matter, and the flame dims. So if your days feel shapeless, don't ignore it. That's not just sadness. It's your body asking for rhythm again. A garden, a pet, a ritual, a call. What matters isn't scale, it's consistency. Because longevity isn't just a heartbeat, it's a heart wanting to beat. Most people don't fade after 80 from a single moment, not a diagnosis, fall, or birthday. It's the slow, quiet fading of habits, rhythms, and reasons to stay engaged, so subtle you barely notice until something inside feels dimmer. But here's the hope. Just as these shifts happen slowly, they can reverse slowly. One walk outside, one extra chat, one small stretch. One thing done today, not from obligation, but because it brings connection or meaning. Think back, which of these 5 reasons surprised you, which felt familiar, and most importantly, which will you act on, even in a small way, starting today? Because you have more power than you think, not to stop aging, but to change how you age. Guard your rhythms. Protect your purpose. Let yourself feel. And there's a good chance you won't just reach 80, you'll thrive beyond it, fully and deeply, on your terms. Thank you for joining us today. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment sharing one insight you'll act on. Your thoughts motivate us. If you found this helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us create more content to inform and inspire. Until next time.